Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Marriage, Politics, and Sports. All Payne here. How you guys doing today? Hey, listen. Russell Wilson did an interview on I Am Athlete with Brandon Marshall, and let me tell you, it was a great interview. It was like an hour long, but we're gonna just chop up a section where he talks about Sierra and being a stepdad. Like, God chose him to be a stepdad. He essentially said that in so many words. And before we get started, like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And, we're going to chop this up because we always hear guys in the sports arena on YouTube talking about how Russ is, this, that, and the other thing. He's, cheesy kind of guy, and all that. Listen, if you listen to the whole interview, right? And you're a man of any kind of means with your head on your shoulders, you would be proud to have a son like Russell Wilson, whether he was rich or not. And his head is on straight. This guy's a quarterback. He's a leader of men in his own right in the sports league. And, so when we get to that little portion of his life, when he meets Sierra, we could chop that up because a lot of men don't see any value in being stepdads. But that's not really the black experience. That's not really the black man's experience. In the past, men were more simpish. They took on women, like it seemed like on a regular basis. But the women back then, for the most part, were a little bit more appreciative of the men who took on their kids. My father was a stepdad, but his second wife kids didn't live with her. They were in the South. But he used to send them money from time to time. And he got two bites at his apple. His second wife, my stepmother, was a very, very nice lady. I loved her. She was cool. I was like 14 when he got remarried. My mom's died early. So, but there was stepdads all through the black community from the greatest generation. My grandfather was a stepdad back in the early 1900s. My oldest uncle, right? Uh, I didn't even know he was adopted by my grandfather until later on. I was like a teenager when I found that out. And they went on to have 8 other kids. So there have been a lot of men who are stepdads. But today, the average black woman, I probably went once too, but it seems that the average black woman takes advantage of men who become stepdads. And maybe that's just this YouTube spaces. But let me put it to you this way. When is the last time in these YouTube spaces or Instagram or TikTok have you heard any black woman come on and praise the stepdads that they have for their kids? I'm talking about really praise. Which channel has the women saying they praise these men who've come on and been stepdads to their kids? There's probably one or two, but who has a major YouTube channel talking about a guy that they admire being a stepdad? I'm just, I'm not everywhere, but I'm on these spaces, a lot, right? Nobody, I don't hear these women talking about any respect for the guys who are stepdads. Where are the women at saying this? Where are the black women extolling the stepdads of today? When? Where? Now, none of this has anything to do with Russell Wilson and Sierra. You know why? Because they don't live the lives most people live. They actually don't even live anywhere near what people are used to living like. But if when you listen to this, I'm gonna play this thing. Russell Wilson met or actually became like a stepdad to Future Junior when he met him at 9 months old. And so when he married Sierra, the guy was like 1 or 2. Pretty much, Russell's pretty much the only father he knows. I mean, he knows his father's some rapper out there, but I haven't seen a picture of Future with his son ever. Right? I have not. I mean, maybe there are some out there. I don't go looking for them. I guess I'm sure if I look for them. But when's the last time we seen him on some kind of excursion with his son or any of his kids for that matter. I don't know, right? So so when we hit Russell as being this simpish stepdad, it doesn't apply or hit the same way as anything else. Now, Russ, when he's talking to Brandon Marshall, they have this conversation, and I'm gonna play some of the conversation for you, and maybe stop it and pause it because he has his 5 things he was looking for in a woman, and that's interesting to listen to. And then he talks about some other things, and so I'll stop and start this, and but until we could chop it up. If you have some comments, put your comments in the, comment block. I'm not doing this live, but that's okay because I'm gonna put it on. You can look it on a replay. But on Monday, on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, I want to bring this back up. And, some of the guys come up on the panel and we could chop up, some of the basic things about I would never be a stepdad like me. I would never advise a single man who's on his grind to be a stepdad to any woman. I would never advise that. If they do it, they're gonna have to do it on their own, and they would have to find a way to vet this woman from somebody who has the expertise to teach them how to eliminate a woman who would be a bad wife as a single, from being a single mom to a wife that appreciates the things that you do. Right. So let's I'm gonna chop this up, and so hopefully Monday we get a whole bunch of people. I'm gonna put this out, and Monday on the Black Man Unfiltered Network at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we'll be talking about this again. And you could come over to that channel, and listen to this. Come over there. I'm not gonna play this again, but we'll have some form of this. But we're gonna play that interview, and from the point of when he starts talking about Sierra. But I'm gonna give you a taste of it right here. So just bear with me. So we're gonna get there. Let's do this. That is I'm gonna stop sharing that. No, I'm not gonna stop sharing it. Maybe we're gonna keep sharing it. We're gonna do something different. We're gonna there you go. Yeah, let me just go ahead and find this. So this is the interview. I'm gonna just get to it. I'm gonna just skip forward to the spot. All right, let's get to the spot. Oh, that's good enough. Let's get to that.
You got to realize it's a partnership, it's a business deal. Not to be cold, but it's a partnership. We're going to spend the rest.
Let's go back a little bit.
To believe it, bro. Like when you walk in the business, like now I want to make a play for that. You seen it this year with Cortland.
Okay, so here's coming up.
Cortland. No, but for let's move on real quick. I'm gonna hit 2 things before we land the plane. Sierra. How you knew she was the one, bro? And I think there's a few things. Number one is, single sitting there and I'm like, and you winning when you losing. You sit at 1 and 5, you better be good. Old babies walking around.
Fair use.
I think never forget, right before I met C, I brought out my 5 non-negotiables. I think in any business deal, right, like marriage it's a partnership. You got to realize it's a partnership, it's a business deal. Not to be cold, but it's a partnership. We're going to spend the rest of our lives together. We're going to spend this. We're going to do this together. We're going to do this together. We're going to have these kids together. We're going to raise these children together. Like we're going to make decisions together. Like so, it's a partnership. And so, in any partnership, you got to have your non-negotiables. So I started writing this out. I was like, man, I'm going to write my 5 non-negotiables. 5 is the number of grace. So I said, I'm going to write these numbers, this out. And so I said the first one is number one is one with faith. Right? Somebody who's equally yoked, somebody who believes in Jesus, everything else the same way. Number 2 is I want a woman who's faithful, not just to me, but also faithful to everything that she's doing. Like to her friends, to her job, occupation, a woman of faith. Number 3 is I wanted a woman who's independent, had her own identity. Wasn't always Russell's wife or this or that. Like, they had their own identity, they had their own dreams. It could be a nurse, it could be to a teacher, it could be to anybody, but obviously see on stage doing a 1-2 step and leveling up and everything else. But it didn't have to be that, but it was just somebody who had their own identity, who wanted to be volunteer work, whatever it is, they wanted to have something they're dedicated to. Number 4 was I wanted a woman that was going to love me the way my mom loved my dad on his deathbed. He was at his lowest. My dad used to always say, son, mom's going to be able to take care of you. And the 5th thing is I wanted a woman who would tilt the room. When she walks in the room, all the furniture would slide her way. And because of...
Let me stop it right there. So you heard his 5 things. Now, let me tell you, he wanted a woman to tilt the room. And Sierra absolutely tilts the room. But that, to me, is just another way of a rich man saying, I want a woman who's so bad, I'm going to take whatever baggage she brings, including a son or a daughter. That's why, that's an honest thing. That he wanted her so bad, he was going to take anything that she was going to deliver to him. And this so happens to be where Future comes in. Because when he met her, Future was like 9 months old. And he doesn't go some more into that story. If you believe his 5 things that he had this written down before he met Sierra, there's 2 things that I question. The first one about the woman of faith, right? The woman of faith, well, first of all, women of faith don't have kids out of wedlock. Not faith, not really God-fearing, if that's what he means by faith. Men who have faith are not necessarily having premarital sex, but these are the sins that you have, right? You have grace because God forgives you, but if you're gonna stop doing it, that's one thing. But usually you can't. I don't look at women who have kids out of wedlock based on our society and based on them saying they're Christian, having kids, especially from guys like Future, who has, umpteen baby mamas already. So, how did you figure out this guy? You left your house to go let this guy shoot up the club. So when you call her a woman of faith, he gave her some grace. That's what I say. This is grace, right? This is the face of grace, right? Her being faithful to him, I believe that. First of all, ladies at her level, it's hard for them to cheat. She's faithful to her craft. She's faithful to him. I believe that one, right? I believe that one. Independent? Of course she's independent. She was a millionaire in her own right. She didn't need a man to come in to take care of her kid, like most 90% of the women out there with kids out of wedlock. They're either leaning on their mothers, they're either leaning on their grandmothers, they're either leaning on the state, or they need somebody to come in and pay their bills. Sierra didn't need that. So her relationship with him actually was a partnership. Actually is a partnership. Now, they may love each other, right? And I think they do. She's giving them kids. And he intimates that they might have another one. So he's not the typical stepdad. So it's not an inspiration or an aspiration for the regular guy or gal to think their life is going to be like Sierra's or Russell Wilson's. It's just not going to be that way. It's a good story for as long as they stay together. It's a great story. He's a great guy. I'm gonna put this interview, fair use, the whole interview in the description. And I say, go listen to it. If you got an hour or so, go listen to it. I would say, go listen to it. This is a great guy. This is a great guy. Let me also say this last one. He said he wanted a woman to tilt a room. I already hit that first. Let's put it to you this way. A lot of times when a guy has a beautiful, exceptionally beautiful woman like Sierra, people come up to him and tell him how lucky he is. For this case, this is not the truth. Sierra's the one who's lucky. Sierra's the one who's blessed. Sierra's, we know what kind of choice in men Sierra had before she met Russell. She wasn't no great shakes at picking a man. She became a baby mama to some guy who she's not even in her life, in the kid's life, even before the kid was 1 year old. So we know that she didn't have no discernment or judgment in how she picked the men. So if Russ didn't come along and look at her and see something in her that she probably didn't see, she wouldn't be with him. She would just, oh, you know what? Future would be okay, right? She's a millionaire. He's not, he's going to have a life better than, he's got 2 millionaire fathers and a millionaire mother, right? So his life was already ordained to be a great one as long as they raised him right and paid attention to him. He's going to go to the best schools. He's going to eat the best food. He's going to do all the kind of things that 99% of the kids on the face of the earth won't have. So he's blessed no matter what. So this stepdad relationship is nothing compared to the ones that are going on in the street out there with the average woman and the average man. And we should stop really comparing it, but this is a good conversation to chop up, but this is my thoughts on this thing. You know what I'm saying? So, but the interview was cool. I'm gonna start it again. And let's listen to a little bit more of Russell Wilson.
Who she is and the woman she is. And so I prayed about that. I remember, Judah.
Fair use.
Prayed about that, wrote it out. Wrote it out. She didn't come up. Sitting there eating steak dinner, wrote it out. We prayed over it. 3 days later, we meet see. And when I walked in the room, I saw, little Future. He's 9 months at the time or whatever. He crawls in my lap, and it was like, this is going to be my responsibility. God, I remember leaving that night, and God saying, God's saying to me, raising this child, because this is going to be a responsibility. And realizing that, pray to God, you sure this is what you want me to do? Say, son, this is for you.
The first night?
Yeah, the first night. It's going to be a responsibility. And
was that scary?
Oh yeah, I think scary just in the sense of, not scary, but it was more so an opportunity. Like, okay, God, this is what you want me to do. This is stepping in to raise, a child with C and this and that, and realizing that, okay, God, like, I know she's the one for me, but also too, I'm going to take this responsibility as well. Like, okay, like, and I was ready for that. I was ready to, I love children, love kids and everything else, but it was like, man, to help raise a child and everything else, understanding that, okay, God, you're gonna give me this opportunity. What a gift. Even Jesus himself, like Joseph was a stepdad. So okay, it wasn't biologically his. So okay, God, you're gonna give me this opportunity to love the way that you were loved, like to love the way that you want us to love, what way, God, that you want me to. So then, it's been an amazing journey, obviously, raising 4 kids.
Yeah, you have 4 babies.
Yep.
All right, so let me stop it there. This is where he says God ordained him pretty much to be a stepdad. And, okay, so as an average guy like me, who would tell an average guy, listen, you're not Russell Wilson, right? His orbit can absorb, he wanted Sierra so bad, his orbit could absorb having a stepson who probably knows him better than he knows his own father, right? I'm thinking that at some point, he's going to want to be adopted by Russell Wilson. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, Future won't, first of all, he won't allow that. But when the kid gets 18, it won't be up to Future anymore. And I have a feeling that's probably in that kid's future. Because, like I said, I never see him with Future at all. At all. What picture? Future don't take no pictures. If he's with him, for how many days or whatever, it's, well, he's a little kid, so he ain't going to be around. And you don't take a lot of pictures of little kids, but some people do. So all I'm just trying to say is, here's this part of Russell saying that he loved the kid almost immediately, but is God really speaking to him, or is the fact that he saw Sierra and all he saw was the spirit telling him, listen, if I want that woman, I'm going to have to love this kid. That's my secular look at it. If I want that woman, I'm going to have to take her kid on. And is that really a big deal for him? Certainly the finances is not a big deal. Certainly dealing with Future ain't a big deal at that level. Dealing with Sierra, who doesn't need him for financial support, ain't a big deal. So when he takes this kid in, what kind of real burden is the little kid to him? Somebody tell me that. That's good. We could chop that up. Now, the way it looks to the outside world and to all these men on YouTube who say, he's this, he's a simp, he's da da da. Well, every man I know is a simp for their wife in one way, shape, form, or fashion. Every man I know is a simp for their wife in one shape, form, or fashion. You know what I'm saying? But as you listen to this interview and you listen to the man and you get past the fact that he's a stepdad and you listen to the man and his life experience, the fact that he has a mother and a father, and Sierra comes from a full household too, mother and a father. These are the kind of people that we say have a real family because they got some love from a joint family. I mean, I'm trying to see, okay, we can see the negative with the stepdad for the average man, right? But this is not an average relationship. It's not. Nowhere near. It's unicorn shit.
I'll ask the question later, like y'all done. But want more?
Oh, I see. Well,
So you got 4 babies right now, Mike Nina. What's the best piece of advice you can give us men out there on parenting? Not parenting, on being a father, right? And then also being specific. You said it, not much you're holding him and you're like, yo, God gave you that vision, like, yo, this is going to be your responsibility. So, like, is there a difference from, how you approach being a father, stepfather? You understand?
I think that when you're raising children, right, and you're married and everything else and loving, it's like you gotta love every single child as if they're yours, right? That's been the greatest gift of raising Future and Sienna and Win and now Mora, 2 months. It's like, man, God gave me that opportunity to raise them and to love them and to care for them and teach them and to love them as every day, that way. And there's no difference. There's no difference. I think to me, it's the greatest gift, knowing that that's the responsibility to raise these 4 beautiful children all together in this. And we all come from blended families a lot of times. We all come from this and that, but it's to be able to be one. And that's been the best part of raising these kids with C and everything else. And just seeing Future smile, shooting hoops with Steph Curry.
All right. So again, what he's saying, he got the 4 kids. Future was so young with him. Can we really dispute the fact that he could see looking at all the kids as his own? As much as we see him with Future, matter of fact, since he's the oldest, we see him with Future more than anybody, any of his other children. Do we doubt that he loves him like he was his only son? I don't. I really don't. And when he talked about we all come from some kind of blended family, I know I have. I know in the Black community, blended family is the way it is because of finances, because of living in a communal house with your grandparents and some cousins and aunts and uncles, depending on how your family structure was, especially from my day, back when the boom was there, because there was a lot of marriages in our family. But we were, my grandmother and grandfather had like 7 daughters. They all coalesced around their mother, like most women do. So our cousins and family was over at the house all the time. I mean, all the time. Some had to live there. I lived in Harlem. We lived in an apartment with 2 of her daughters that were married. And I had to stay in a room when my mom got sick before she passed away. I had me and my brother and 2 of my girl cousins. We stayed in the same room. And then there was a cot in there for another one of my cousins and an Irish step. A big ass dog, all in our room. You know what I'm saying? So we, that's how the families had to survive until we moved to a 2-family home in the Bronx, which was like heaven. So, I mean, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind about stepdads, because in the modern era, the women today, very few of them deserve to be saved. Very few. Not by good men. Not saying they should go to bad men, but not by single men on their grind, deserve their own legacy. Right? Again, this relationship ain't like that. This is not the same kind of relationship. 99% of the people ain't gonna live like this. It's a little bit more.
And seeing Sienna do her gymnastics and how much she's dedicated. That's where I think she's gonna win a gold medal doing that. To see when, I don't know if he's gonna be Floyd Mayweather, he wanna box everybody, or if he's gonna, play shortstop for the New York Yankees. I don't know. And then more over here, she, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what she's gonna be. Her smile is just perfect. I just think though that the gift to be able to raise kids will see it every day, knowing that you're equally yoked, and also knowing we're on this journey together. And it's been one of the greatest gifts to life.
What's the one piece of advice you can give us fathers?
Yeah, I would say, I think a key part of it every day, and we've all been raised differently. I was fortunate to have my dad there every day. Not always physically, because he was always working. He had to work 2 jobs at one point. We didn't have enough money. He was trying to get me to go to private school. We had to raise enough money to, just for me to go, or to have enough money and we didn't have hot water a lot of times. Maybe no water at all. So like my dad was working 2 jobs at one point. I remember somebody coming up to my dad and I saw your dad working at the gas station. And I was like, no, my dad, it's like my dad was he was doing this FBI investigation. He was doing something. I came home, I said, Dad, you working at the gas station? He said, son, I gotta pay for your school. I gotta pay for the baseball bats and the gloves and the football. And he would do whatever it took. And so to me, I think fatherhood is a direct reflection of what God has done for us. It's unconditional love, to be able to love us in the midst of it all, to be able to be there for us, to be able to provide, to be able to care for us, to be able to show up every day. Not just physically, but also mentally and spiritually. I think the opportunity to be able to love and to speak life into us. And my dad always spoke life into me. He always encouraged me. He always lifted me up. And so to me, I have this amazing responsibility every day with Future, with Sienna, with Wynn. Now more, she can't really, I'm not sure if she can understand me yet, but it's the gift and the responsibility that God's given me to love them the way that He wants me to love them, to raise them that way, to show up every day. And I think,
let me stop it there. Now, listen, I'm gonna put this in the description, the whole interview. You can watch it and stuff like that. I'm gonna put it in this. But he said some stuff about fathers, right? And I look at it that way, right? I'm a father. Some of you guys are fathers out there, and you're still married to the woman that has your children. And there was a lady who tried to gaslight men for living longer when they're married and have children, and she tried to make that a negative. And I actually wrote on her TikTok post, I said, first of all, you divorced probably what was a good man. And now you're out here on the street around 50 years old. Men live longer in marriages because we have obligations and purpose to make to keep our family secure, safe, and moving forward. It gives you life to have that obligation to provide and to protect and to procreate and to problem solve. It gives you a purpose. And that purpose keeps you alive if you're in relatively good shape. Of course, things can happen to you, but you would tend to live longer because you want to see how those stories play out. You know what I'm saying? Especially with your children. So, yeah. So he's spot on with what he said. Exactly spot on with what he said. So I tell you, this was a good interview. I think we should I want to like I said, I'm gonna go to BMU's channel on Monday at 7, and we're gonna chop this up. I'd like to get some guys on the panel and kind of elevate the conversation from, oh, he's a baby daddy, he's this and that, and listen to some of the words and kind of analyze him as a man through our own eyes and our own experiences. That would be really, really a good thing. You know what I'm saying? And it could be a great stream if we don't let it denigrate down to the regular YouTube bullshit that he's a simpy stepdad and all that. Man, that's easy. You know, there's got to be something more that we could discuss about this situation, because we've been talking about Sierra and Russell Wilson for a long time. He's got himself a beautiful wife, and she has a better husband that she couldn't pick herself. So she's the lucky one. You know, and this is the more where he is the prize for her. But he doesn't, he puts her on the pedestal. That's his business. Okay, most men want to put their wives on a pedestal. But she better be looking up at him from her pedestal. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, I think this is a good one that we're going to talk about. I'm going to forward this out to BMU and Monday at 7 o'clock on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. We're going to talk about this and come up on the panel and say your piece. Our pain, marriage, politics, and sports. Over and out.